The opinions and suggestions expressed on the following program are solely those of the participants and not necessarily endorsed by program sponsors or any radio station, media company, or platform broadcasting this program. The following program is a product of Causeway LLC. The information in this broadcast is not intended as investment, tax, or financial advice. Matthew Moore is not a licensed investment advisor and speaks solely from his experience and opinions. All information in this broadcast is for entertainment or educational purposes only. Matthew Moore, Causeway LLC, and the company or platform broadcasting this program is not responsible for the success or failure of any person's investment decisions or purchases. Matthew Moore, Causeway LLC, and the company or platform broadcasting this program makes no and expressly disclaims all representations, warranties, and guarantees with respect to this broadcast and its sponsors. Investing in any market is inherently risky and can be financially dangerous. Invest at your own risk.
Government officials we will continue to keep you informed as this story unfolds.
Welcome to Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore, the Bitcoin-focused radio show that's waking the masses to the fiat money Ponzi scheme. Money is changing, and your freedom is at stake. So stick around and learn how to empower yourself for this new digital age. Now, here's your host, Matthew J. Moore.
Welcome, America! Guess what? It's that time of the week. That's right. I want to welcome everybody who is here listening to this program, no matter where you are or what you're doing. I want to welcome every single one of you, Bitcoin lovers, newbies, and experts. And if you're listening globally from our podcast format or YouTube or anywhere we are digitally, welcome, because Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore, this show was made for you. That's right. And yes, it is very true. If you've heard the rumor, we are one of the only syndicated radio shows that is on the air dedicated to Bitcoin, which I'm really excited about. And I'm sure you are if you're a regular listener. And if you're new, you're going to find out some really, really interesting things, because Bitcoin is such a unique aspect, such a unique topic that a lot of times we talk about things like history and technology and energy and money and freedom and politics. I mean, there's so much that happens in the Bitcoin space and what Bitcoin touches. And I have a feeling it's going to continue to grow and touch more things in the world. It's literally changing the world, in my opinion. But I do have a question for you. And we're going to answer this on the program today. But have you ever thought about your rights? Like, what is a right, and how are they essentially decided? What about Bitcoin mining? I mean, should we have a right to mine Bitcoin, to participate in this open source network? I mean, on today's episode, we're going to kind of talk and dive into this, explore these topics, and we're going to, say, hey, can we really have this as a right? Can we have the right to own and mine Bitcoin? I mean, a lot of people have some controversial thoughts and opinions when it comes to money in itself. And in my opinion, Bitcoin is the greatest form of sound money the world has ever seen. But we're going to talk about this idea of do individuals and the free market, should they have the freedom to compete and to use whatever money is organically accepted? I mean, let's be honest. Let's let the best form of money win, right? That's how I feel about it. But today we've got somebody who is a returning guest, who is a person who is actively advocating and getting legislation passed that protects the rights of individuals to use and mine Bitcoin. But before we bring him on and get the juice going here and these great questions, I have to introduce you to my wonderful producer, Brian LaRue. He is in the house. He is on the soundboard, and thank God, because he's going to make me sound good, because every time he's not here, I never feel like it's the same. But Brian, welcome back to the show, buddy.
Hey, Matt. Thank you so much.
Hey,
glad to be here.
If people, heard that awesome intro that we have, and they like the product that we're producing here, you're actually for hire. So
absolutely.
Where would people go if they wanted to create something like we got going here? Or maybe they have a podcast, or maybe they're a musician and they want to create a track.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're a musician, you're even a producer, you make tracks, you make beats, or you have a podcast, you have media, kind of any form of media, I can definitely I'm work for hire for that kind of job. So you can reach me at beyondyouproductions.com or my Instagram at larue.brian.com or larue.brian. There we go. Sorry.
Yeah. And it's your last name. It's you got two capital letters in there, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Brian. So the LaRue, L is capitalized and then the R is capitalized, right?
Yes, it's French.
Yeah, it's French. Oh, okay. I didn't know that was the origins. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. Well, I also want to give a shout out to SoonerMarketingSolutions.com, and the reason being is we have used their studio many, many times for this show, but they also have a plethora of marketing services that are at your disposal if you go and check them out at SoonerMarketingSolutions.com. KCAA.com. But without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start this show. Today on the line, we have in my opinion, a real Bitcoin hero, American superhero. He's doing some real great work. Someone who is truly making a difference for the Bitcoin community and American citizens at large. His name is Dennis Porter, and he is working hard to, that's right, secure the right to mine Bitcoin here in the United States. Dennis is the CEO of the Satoshi Action Fund. Dennis, welcome back to America's syndicated Bitcoin-focused radio show. Our listeners are all over. They're in LA, Atlanta, Seattle. But for those who might be tuning in for the first time, maybe they're unfamiliar with who you are, please share with everyone in your own words what you do.
Hey, Matthew. Yeah, thank you so much. And you're too kind with that introduction, but I'm very glad to be back on the show with you to talk about one of my favorite topics. And also real quickly, just want to say congrats on the success of your show and the expansion of the show. So big congrats to you.
Well, thanks, man. It's been a roller coaster ride for sure. I mean, the bear market has been interesting for us as it has for everybody, but we're plugging and playing, and we're gonna take new ground. But let's go ahead and do this. I want to start with this question. We got a lot to dive in here because you've actually been doing quite a bit. But the Satoshi Action Fund is dedicated to protecting the proof of work consensus mechanism on the Bitcoin protocol. But a lot of people might be thinking, okay, well, what does that mean? I'm tuning into the show. I mean, maybe I'm new to this idea of Bitcoin. For the listeners who are unfamiliar, can you briefly describe what proof of work is and why they should care?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really important question. Proof of work is just one option that people can use to be able to secure a digital asset like Bitcoin. In my opinion, it is by far and away the superior technology. And what this technology does is it allows for the Bitcoin network to be more decentralized, which means less centralization. It protects the Bitcoin network from any sort of attack, and it also ensures that transactions happen seamlessly and properly, again, without the need for any sort of centralized entity. And the way that this proof of work technology is implemented is through the use of computers. These computers or data centers, as kind of what we call them, are also known as Bitcoin miners. So whenever you hear the word, Bitcoin mining, just think of data centers that are securing the Bitcoin network and helping to process transactions. That's about as simple of an answer you can give on that topic.
I concur, and you did a very good job. In addition, there really has been a lot of buzz about the work that you guys have been doing when it comes to this idea of having the right to mine Bitcoin, to run these data centers. Can you share with us some details about this legislative effort? Because I think you've got some really big wins here recently. Make the case why this idea of the right to mine Bitcoin, why should that be a right?
Yeah, it's an important question because I get that one a lot, and people wonder, why can't I just, do what I want to do? Why do I need to have a right? Well, the answer is simply to ensure that the government, oftentimes, which tries to come after individuals for actions which they do not align with, but it's just to ensure that the government cannot impede your ability to use electricity in the way you see fit. Unfortunately, in the United States, we've seen time and time again that instead of directly going after someone's ability to use electricity, that they will use loopholes within the Bitcoin mining space. There have been folks that have attempted to use loopholes to be able to change zoning laws, to change electricity rates, to push frivolous noise complaints in order to stop Bitcoin miners from using the electricity that they use. So what we did is we got together, our team, and we wrote up a model policy that essentially creates a protection for Bitcoin miners to help eliminate these types of discrimination, these loopholes that folks are using within government policy to come after Bitcoin miners who are just freely using electricity. They, in fact, are also doing and adding very positive impact to the grid and to the environment, and they're creating jobs. But unfortunately, there's just a lot of misinformation around Bitcoin mining. So oftentimes you'll find somewhat activist folks at the local level who just don't like this industry coming in for whatever reason. They may have read a New York Times article that had tons of misinformation about Bitcoin mining. They might have read a CNN article that has a ton of misinformation about Bitcoin mining, and it just led them to believe that this is a bad industry. And unfortunately, that's not true. So what we are doing, because we're big believers in the potential of Bitcoin mining to be able to bring jobs, grid stability, local investment, environmental cleanup, on the ability to enhance green and carbon-free energy projects, as well as many other types of energy projects. But we really believe in that technology and the ability for it to do that. So we went and we created this model policy with the protections for the zoning, the noise complaints, and the discriminatory rate changes. And we got it in front of some policymakers who we educated on the issue, and they agreed, yeah, this is great technology, and we want to make sure that we can bring it to our state. We've successfully introduced our policy. We have various forms of policy, but so far in 7 states, we've had 9 different policies introduced. On the right to mine issue, we have that active currently in 3 states. We passed it into law in Arkansas just recently. The governor there signed that bill, Governor Sanders. And then we're also waiting for a signature from the governor in Montana. And we're hopeful, we don't know yet for sure, but pretty hopeful that we'll also pass this bill in Missouri as well. So a lot of progress for us as a new organization, but that's because we have the right people on the team, and we also have the right strategy that we're employing. But we imagine we'll continue to have even more success. As we pass this law in Arkansas, we also had folks from Georgia and Indiana reaching out to us saying, hey, we want to pass this bill in our state. Our goal will be to pass this policy in all 50 states. And we are well on our way. We're following in the footsteps of several other industries who have taken this exact same approach. I would like to highlight the marijuana industry. They went state by state, started off with Colorado and Washington in 2012, passing pro-THC policy. And then a decade later, 75% of the country has pro-THC policy on the books. And there's a reason for that. And we could dive a little bit into why that worked and how they did it. But that's the same strategy that we're employing. And we do believe that people should have the right to mine Bitcoin in the United States.
So how did that feel? Like, to land some of these wins and get this momentum, were you... was it like a giant sigh of relief, or was it like, hey, our work's just starting to, pick up here? I mean, explain to this mental process and the emotional process you've gone through.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of both, right? We are just getting started. This is the first state that we have passed pro Bitcoin mining policy in, but then we have 49 states left to go. And we have, multiple types of policy that we think would be beneficial, where folks can benefit from the technology, but they can also ensure that the technology is adopted in a safe and effective way while being good to the industry, right? Like, we don't want bad actors to come in. I think that's a common misconception, is that we are somehow trying to ensure that any and all Bitcoin mining can take place. I mean, if you go read the bill itself, we even, within the policy that we wrote, stipulate that Bitcoin miners must comply to certain regulations, but they cannot be discriminated against. So we want fair and balanced policy that helps to protect the industry. But yeah, we are just getting started, but passing our first bill, being a new organization, we're not even actually a full year old yet. So that was a huge accomplishment for us. And if we were able to pass policy in multiple states in our very first year, we feel like that will be a huge victory, not only because that's difficult to pull off for a political organization that's new, it's just totally new policy. Nobody has ever come into this realm in the way that we are doing it. And so we feel like we are setting the trend, we are setting the blueprint for the rest of the nation.
Oh, that is so cool. Well, congratulations, man. And I'm over here on the sidelines rooting for you, because I've had my own experience with lawmakers here in Oklahoma, educating them about Bitcoin. But hey, man, let me dive into this about lawmakers in general. You guys have some model policy that you were mentioning that you push, but you also have a guide for state legislators. Can you explain what this guide is all about and how you actually get it into the hands of the right people?
Yeah, it's a guidebook. It's a legislator guidebook that discusses Bitcoin mining, and it's just a 10 to 15 page document that really outlines how the technology works and why states would want to adopt it. It's seen as an educational tool that we use to get in front of policymakers. And what we do is we just send that directly to folks, or they can go to our website, satoshiaction.io. And if you go to our proof of work page, not only can you read about some of our more recent work, which we just passed the Arkansas bill, less than 48 hours or maybe 72 hours ago. So that's not quite up there yet, but most of our work is up there, and the people that we're speaking to, and some of the past work that we've been associated with, and also our other policies. But if you scroll down that page, you can find the legislator guide. And what we're hoping is not only are we going to send it to our policymakers, but we hope that you'll click, download that guide, and send that to your policymakers so that they can be educated on the issue. And we also have to make it simple, right? Because not everyone's going to want to read, the 10-page summary of Bitcoin mining. We know how busy these policymakers can be, how many different issues are vying for their attention. So if you want to get like a really good just one pager in front of them, we also have that on our website. Same page, go to satoshiaction.io, go to the proof of work page.
Yeah, no, I mean, I actually
benefits of Bitcoin mining.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I think we had a little time glitch there on the signal there, but I think it's really smart to have that one pager as well. And I think it's phenomenal that you guys have put all this together, and I think it's been helpful. In fact, Brian, I think you had a question that you wanted to ask.
Yeah. Well, Dennis, I want to know, have you seen any recent changes in how state lawmakers are reacting to like Bitcoin mining, and how's the education going overall with that?
Yeah, and we've got about 3 minutes before we got to go to break.
Awesome. Okay, well, good. Thanks for the heads up. And yeah, generally speaking, the educational process has kind of only been up and to the right. Really, so few policymakers, again, have the time to focus on, these new issues. And there's very few people who are able to educate on a deep level, but also in a way that's, digestible, right? Because you could get a developer in there and they could tell you the intricate details of how Bitcoin mining works, but is that going to be digestible for the average policymaker? And so that's where we feel we fit in. And we have had a ton of success. Myself personally, I feel like I have a very good background in breaking down ideas in a way that are simple enough for the average person to understand and understand quickly. So we have had many policymakers that we have been able to get them on board with Bitcoin mining. You will see some folks on the other side of the aisle starting to turn kind of against it, and what I mean by outside of the aisle is kind of like the pro-Bitcoin versus, anti-Bitcoin side. And the anti-Bitcoin people, they have been able to convince some policymakers that Bitcoin mining is, destroying the planet and, it's going to kill all the baby turtles and is going to, kill the polar bears. But it could be nothing further from the truth. This technology is an incredibly powerful tool to be able to use for energy systems to balance the grid, but also clean up the environment and reduce emissions globally. So we've had a great success with that message, and we're going to continue talking about it with them. And we think we're going to continue to have success with these policymakers and getting them to see the value of the tech.
I love it. Well, Dennis, really quickly, there's people tuning in all the time. Where can they go to learn more about what you're doing? And we got a whole lot more questions to ask you.
Yeah, you can go to satoshiaction.io. You can go to my Twitter handle, which is Dennis_Porter_ to learn more about what we're doing. But feel free to shoot us an email anytime. Also, you can info@satoshiaction.io, and you can learn all about what we're doing. We're happy to jump on a call as well to educate groups on the technology and also educate on what we're doing at Satoshi Action.
Yes, I love it. And I encourage everybody to go to his website and check that stuff out and even follow him on Twitter. Because honestly, Twitter, that's where the real-time Bitcoin conversation is always happening. But if you're listening to this show on the radio and you find this interesting, call a friend, tell them to tune in. And if you're listening digitally, like, share, subscribe, comment, be a part of the conversation. Let us know what you think, because we want to give you the best content that you can consume so you can better understand this space. Stay put. We're going to be right back. We've got a lot more to cover. And when I say a lot more, I'm talking about we got more juice to squeeze out of this fruit. And not that Dennis is a fruit, but we love it. We love it. We'll be right back. What does it mean to be physically, spiritually, and financially free? The right to life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness, these were the ideas that made America. But what happens to these ideas when America's money becomes compromised? What do you do when the very thing that you're working for day after day is fundamentally designed to enslave you? Whether it was a conspiracy or not, you won't believe what is about to happen in this country. Arm yourself today with the truth and build your life on the foundations for liberty. Rediscover freedom in the 21st century and grab a copy of my Amazon best-selling book, Foundations for Liberty. For just $11.99, you can support this radio show by finding a copy on Amazon or by going to mattjmoore.com. Again, that's mattjmoore.com. Don't wait, because freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. Do you have a strategy to obtain Bitcoin on a regular basis? Do you plan to automate your dollar cost averaging? What about getting all or part of your paycheck in Bitcoin? GetHedge.io is revolutionizing how you get paid. Hedge makes it easy to automatically convert your pay into Bitcoin. Whether you're an employer or employee, you can get started in 4 easy steps. Start getting paid in Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Litecoin. The great part about using Hedge is you can skip the exchange experience altogether and have your Bitcoin sent directly to a wallet you control. Self-custody is key, and GetHedge is giving you the power. Hedge is here to make it easy to stack those sats month after month. Bitcoin, it's a long-term play, so what are you waiting for? Start living on the Hedge, and don't forget to let them know that you heard about Hedge from Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore. Use my referral link at mattjmoore.com, or you can go to gethedge.io. Again, that's gethedge.io.
Short-form video content is taking over social media, and with only seconds to capture someone's attention, our team can help you stand out from the crowd. At Sooner Marketing Solutions, we'll produce and publish engaging TikToks, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts. If you feel like you're falling to the wayside and missing out on the exposure that you deserve, click the link in the description to get Sooner results now.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-262-4182. 800-262-4182. That's 800-262-4182.
And we are back, America. Yes, it is round 2 of America's Bitcoin-focused radio show, the show that's dedicated at Orange Coin, often known as the honey badger of money. And whether you are a Bitcoin lover, newbie, or expert, we got a little bit of something for everybody. And we even want to welcome all you haters and maybe skeptics. You know, we hope you stick around because just maybe you'll learn something and maybe we'll get some converts. I don't know. We're trying here, okay? But Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore is a show that is designed for everybody. And yes, we are one of the only syndicated radio shows that is dedicated to that topic known as Bitcoin. A show, like I said earlier, where you're going to learn about a lot of different subjects. Right now, we're talking about some legislation. We're talking about Bitcoin mining. We're talking about rights. But oftentimes, you'll hear us talk about history and energy and technology. There's just so much that goes into this. But have you ever thought, like I said, about what a right is? How are they decided? Why is it important? And what about rights when it comes to money? Is Bitcoin money? Is Bitcoin mining, that whole process of creating Bitcoin into existence? You know, how should we treat that? Well, on today's episode, we've been talking about why we as Americans should have the right to own and mine Bitcoin. And in my opinion, like I was saying at the first segment, individuals and the free market should have that freedom and right to compete, to use whatever money is organically accepted. But let's let the best form of money win, and we can only make that happen if we're allowed to mine and participate in Bitcoin. Today we've got somebody who is a returning guest, a person who is actively advocating, and I mean actively advocating, and getting legislation passed that protects the rights of individuals to participate in this thing known as Bitcoin mining. And also in the house with me is my favorite producer, Brian LaRue, and he is the one that makes us sound so sweet to the ear, along with that awesome intro and outro. Brian, welcome back, man.
Hey, Matt. Such a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Remind people one more time. I know we've said it before, but your work is phenomenal. So if people wanted to hire you for this awesome, I don't know, these beautiful sounds you make, where could they go if they want to get like a track, maybe a podcast made, maybe they want to do a radio show and they want some awesome intros and outros? Where do they go?
Well, definitely if you're thinking about doing all of that, which Matt just spoke about, you can go to my website at beyondyouproductions.com. And feel free to reach out to me. Go to my contact information, contact form, and I'll be sure to get your contact information.
Well, I concur, and I would say do it now before you forget. Write it down, or just do it on your phone right now. All right, well, guys, I'm also going to give a shout out to SoonerMarketingSolutions.com. They are a wonderful company here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that have been so generous to us. And so if you've got any marketing needs, go check them out at SoonerMarketingSolutions.com. They're a wonderful company that can take care of all your marketing needs. All right, well, today, like I was saying, we have on the line a real mover and shaker in the world of Bitcoin, and he is shaking things up. He's getting laws passed, and he's making a difference. Someone who is, he's a real American. Dennis Porter, he's working hard to secure the right for us to mine Bitcoin here in the United States. Dennis is the CEO of the Satoshi. Why can't I say Satoshi today? It's like such a fundamental word to this whole space. Satoshi Action Fund. Dennis, welcome back to America's syndicated Bitcoin focused radio show. And no, like I was saying on the first segment, you're not a fruit. We just got a lot of juice to squeeze out of these questions. It's been a great conversation so far. There's people tuning in all the time. So go ahead and share your thoughts, or not your thoughts, but tell people in your own words what you do.
Yeah, thank you, Matthew. And again, great to be back on the show. At Satoshi Action Fund, we really focus on educating policymakers and regulators on the benefits of Bitcoin mining as a technology. And then we turn around and we say, all right, now that you love Bitcoin mining as much as we do, because it's great for the grid, great for the environment, and it's great for job growth, here is some pro-Bitcoin mining policy that you can pass at the state level to ensure that your region is a leader on this technology. We've had a ton of success with that approach. We've really been making progress this first year that we've been put together, and we're going to continue pushing forward, and excited to be here on the show to continue talking about it.
Well, this is the perfect opportunity to do a little bit of role playing here. So follow me here, Dennis. There might be, and I'm highly sure of it, there's probably some lawmakers that are listening to this show right now. I know I've got lawmakers from Oklahoma that listen to the show. But let's pretend I'm a skeptical lawmaker who is on the fence about Bitcoin mining. What is your 2-minute pitch to me on why I should be in favor of Bitcoin mining as a policy maker?
Yeah, that's great. We spend a lot of time pitching policymakers on this technology, and we really say that there's 5 key benefits of Bitcoin mining, and that it is you can bring new jobs, you can bring new investment, local investment, oftentimes in rural and economically depressed zones, which is a very important area for folks in the state policy world to focus on. They've been trying, for a long time now to figure out how to bring jobs to these areas that have been left behind by the last 10 to 20 years, where manufacturing has gone overseas, and the tech boom has led to incredible job growth in city centers. But rural and economically depressed zones have been left behind. Bitcoin mining can come in and provide jobs to those people who need them the most. And Bitcoin mining can also clean up the environment by mitigating methane emissions, and it can lead to a better and more balanced grid by participating in helping to provide energy back to the system when it's needed the most, while simultaneously being very, very good for carbon-free energy projects, particularly wind and solar projects, which are intermittent, which means that they only create energy when the wind is blowing and the sun is shining. Well, unfortunately, the demand for power is not intermittent, and people will want power when they want it. And wind and solar are not on-demand power sources. So they need to be met by a customer that is willing to be flexible alongside of them. And although Bitcoin miners use a lot of power and they want to be on regularly, they can also be the very first customer to wind down and provide power back to ratepayers when they need it the most. So that's our pitch to policymakers, that this is a very good technology for the grid. It's great for the environment, and it's great for the economy. And we hope that policymakers hear that mission and hear that story and believe it in as much as we do, and do what they can to try to adopt policy that is in alignment with that. And not only do we educate policymakers on that, we also have policy. We also have solutions for them to help bring this new nascent industry to their borders.
Absolutely, Dennis. I'm convinced. I want to know, you've been speaking at a lot of state capitals recently about Bitcoin mining. Can you share with us your favorite moment so far when advocating for Bitcoin mining? Did you ever find yourself in debates at all?
Yeah, I was hoping this question would come up. We've definitely had some very interesting run-ins. I was telling my friend just a moment ago that The political world definitely brings out the most interesting parts of people's behavior and attitudes. So, for instance, when we were in Montana not too long ago, we were testifying in favor of our policy, and we're talking about how Bitcoin mining can be good for the grid and it can be good for cleaning up the environment and creating jobs. We got done, and then a gentleman from another organization who was a proponent or opposed to our bill got up, and he started to go on this very long-winded speech. And I mean, the guy should be running for office, to be honest. It was eloquent. He was fired up. But it was just wild, the words he was saying. He was saying things like, the state of Montana will burn on the cross of Bitcoin, and that people are dying because of Bitcoin mining. I mean, you couldn't have gotten any more kind of unhinged and ridiculous to the extreme of the negative externalities of Bitcoin mining. Even when he was asked, he tried to run out. This is the funniest part. He tried to run out of the building after he testified, which is very, very frowned upon within the policy space. You need to stick around. You give your testimony, you stick around, and you wait for the policymakers to ask you questions to kind of, see if you know what you're talking about, and not that just kind of spewing information, hoping to kind of turn the tide emotionally. So he tried to run out, and they said, hey, no, don't leave. We have questions for you. He got back up on the podium, and one of the policymakers looked him straight in the face and said, these are some pretty wild claims you're making about Bitcoin mining. Do you have any evidence to back it up? And the guy just stood there, and he was like, there's like a way we can have evidence, but I can't give it to you here. And the guy just looked at him and he goes, son, if you're going to come into the state capitol and say the things that you said and not have any evidence whatsoever to back it up, you really need to reimagine, the way that you are, approaching the system. And obviously I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but generally speaking, the guy was like, what are you doing? But so it's a very interesting moment. You can go watch the recording. I think it's on the Montana State Legislature. Don't quote me on it, but that was generally the vibe of the conversation. It was a very interesting moment for sure.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that's crazy. I don't know why anybody would put themselves in that situation and not be ready for confrontation. That is crazy. Wow. Well, all right. So let's kind of take it this direction. Obviously I'm a proponent. You're a proponent. A lot of people are, on this listening to this show are probably proponents of Bitcoin mining, but let's let the people know just how Bitcoin mining transforms the power grid of America moving forward. I mean, do you think Bitcoin mining is so important that it could possibly be a national security issue, which some people are talking about?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. In order for our grids to stay balanced, we're going to need more and more services, more customers that are willing to participate in grid balancing programs such as demand response and frequency regulation. And the reason why is because as you build more renewables on the grid, I brought this up a moment ago, as you build more renewables on the grid, you need customers that can wind down when those energy assets are not producing any sort of electrons. And there just is not very many industries, and there's definitely not very many, end use customers like normal ratepayers that are willing to shut off their electricity in the middle of a winter storm. Winter storm, heat wave, those are the times when we're using the most amount of power. You're turning on your AC, you're turning on your heater to make sure that, you don't either freeze to death or, sweat to death, essentially, right? And in the case of Texas, there's a very good example of how Bitcoin mining is coming in and serving a real world use case in order to prevent ratepayers from going out without power during these types of emergencies. During Winter Storm Elliott, it was a huge storm that came down. Texas had just gone through Uri. Uri, devastated the state. Millions were without power. And then about 6 months or a year later, many miners moved into the Texas energy system known as ERCOT. And once they were there, they started to participate in these grid balancing programs, which essentially says, if there's an emergency, if there's a high demand for power prices are going up, you will wind down your services. These, grid balancing programs had been underutilized in the past, but Bitcoin miners were signing up for them in numbers because they're very good at winding down at a moment's notice whenever the grid operators need them to. So Uri happened, devastated, millions without power. people were dying in that situation. I think over 200 people died. Then miners come in. Then you have Winter Storm Elliott. Well, because the miners had come in and they were able to shut down, they returned enough power to heat 1.5 million small homes or to power 300 large hospitals. It was 1,500 megawatts roughly of power that was delivered back to the grid when in the middle of an emergency, when ratepayers and folks on the ground needed it the most. And they were able to do that for days at a time. And there's just no other industry that can do that. Yeah, you could have this guy over here turn off his lights for a couple hours, or you could have an iron smelter turn off their operation for an hour or two. But it's not enough to really compensate for these sorts of big emergencies. So in a sense, as we move forward and we continue to have a more and more imbalanced grid, and we have noticed that weather events have become more volatile. Not necessarily saying they're more extreme, but we're noticing there's more and more volatility within the weather events, that you need these customers that are not only willing to participate in balancing renewables, but also making sure that they can shut down in the middle of these emergencies when people need it the most. So energy independence and making sure that we have reliable power is a national security issue. And Bitcoin miners can help to ensure that our grids are more strong and resilient than ever before.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it seems like energy is such an important topic today, especially with the administration and everything like that. But what I want to know, Dennis, what kind of growth and attention have you guys seen when it comes to the Satoshi Action Fund? Is there a lot of new momentum going on?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We have experienced incredible momentum in the last several months. We have been building a lot of momentum around our efforts, simply for the fact that people can just, watch and see. We're very active on social media, especially Twitter. We also have a great newsletter where we talk about the work that we're doing. But it really started to change when our policy started moving through these state houses. When we started moving the right to mine in Missouri, Arkansas, and also in Montana, that's when folks really started to pay attention. And we were able to get a lot more support. And now that we have passed a bill into law, which is something that just very few people have been able to accomplish in this space. There have been some really great people out there, and they deserve the credit that they should get. But very few people have been able to accomplish that. And we've passed that policy. And now we have miners calling us from all over the country saying, hey, how do I get this bill passed in my state? And, what do we need to do, and how can we support what you're doing? So passing policy, and I would call it that our own proof of work, right? Like, we have proven as an organization that we can be effective. And I think this really well, Matthew. There's a lot of people in the political world that they can make a lot of noise and they can bring a lot of attention to themselves, and they don't really get anything done. That we're kind of the opposite of that. We definitely want to bring attention to the work that we are doing. But at the very core of everything that we do is results and progress and making sure that the industry has moved forward. And we're not going to rest until the United States is one of the best places to mine Bitcoin in the world, and that we ensure that that is enshrined in law so that it cannot be manipulated or taken away from us, because Bitcoin mining is going to lead to an absolute revolution in energy and is going to be an economic driver for this country for decades to come.
I absolutely agree. And, we've got about two minutes before we got to consider going to break here. But I need to ask you this question. You guys have developed a lot of good partnerships in the Bitcoin space when doing all of this. But have you developed any relationships outside of the Bitcoin industry, and how'd those come about, if so?
Absolutely, we have. We have been on the hunt consistently from the very beginning to collaborate and work with those in the policy space. That I kind of mentioned that there's a lot of people who make noise, but there's a lot of ones that don't make noise, and they're here for the long haul, and they're here to make an impact. And we have partnered directly with some of the most important organizations in the space. In fact, we will be we are co-organizing an event with the Texas Blockchain Council and also the Digital Chamber. And we'll be leading a rally here. I'm going to be flying here to Austin on Monday to go oppose SB 1751, which is an anti-Bitcoin mining bill in that state. We'll be putting together a rally. We'll be having policymakers speak. We've had, I think, at least over 400. Last time I checked, it was a few days ago, over 400 people have RSVP'd to come. And we will have a tent in case there's bad weather. We will be providing food and opportunities for folks that are important, that care about this issue deeply, to be able to come up and speak. So there, like I said, there are people that make a lot of noise, don't get anything done. We're very happy to be partnering with the TBC and the Digital Chamber and a few other organizations that, I could go on a list and name them to be able to get things done. And that is kind of within the Bitcoin world, but also outside that world, we have found really great partnerships with people that just care a lot about energy security and folks that care a lot about making sure the United States moves the right direction on Bitcoin. Bitcoin has become an issue that not only people within Bitcoin care about, but people who care about liberty and freedom care deeply about as well. So lots of great partnerships on the way, and we hope to continue making progress building a coalition around Bitcoin.
So true. Well, before we jump to break, once again, since people are tuning in all the time, where can they find your work?
Yeah, definitely head to satoshiaction.io. You can check out all the work that we're doing. Some of our most recent work isn't quite up there yet because it's just happening on a day-to-day basis. You can also email me and my team at info@satoshiaction.io. We're happy to respond. We're always looking at our emails and happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
Do it before you forget. Write it down. Type it in your phone. I'd encourage you to go check his stuff out. And, if you're listening to this on the radio and you like what you're hearing, get a friend, call a friend, tell them to tune in. And if you're listening online, give us a like, share, subscribe, comment, be a part of the conversation, because this conversation, as you can tell, is important for the future of America. We all need to be understanding what's evolving, what's going on, because I know it's going to be important, and you don't want to miss it. You don't want to misunderstand it. So stay tuned, because we're going to continue to educate. The sun, beaches, parties, education, and Bitcoin. This is the recipe for Bitcoin 2023, the largest Bitcoin conference in the world. Ever thought about meeting industry experts? It's the who's who of Bitcoin, and you can't miss it. Join us in Miami, Florida for the annual Bitcoin conference. Use my promo code BTC Radio at checkout. That's BTC Radio. Learn more at mattjmoore.com.
Okay, I'm talking funny because I'm in the witness protection program. I have too much credit card debt and I don't want people to find me.
Okay, I'm just kidding. We're going to talk about credit card debt. Right, those plastic things that we all have in our wallet. Are you in your 50s or 60s and you're still carrying around a mound of credit card debt? Wouldn't it be nice to start banking that money and save a little money for retirement down the road? We help people restructure their credit card debt all the time. We show people how they can get out of credit card debt in months, not years. Listen, you'll be carrying around credit card debt for the rest of your life unless you deal with it right now. We offer a free consultation so you can learn how you can finally wipe out your credit card debt and start saving money. Give us a free call right now.
Call Debt Solutions Network now. 800-593-0298. 800-593-0298. That's 800-593-0298.
Do you have a strategy to obtain Bitcoin on a regular basis? Do you plan to automate your dollar cost averaging? What about getting all or part of your paycheck in Bitcoin? GetHedge.io is revolutionizing how you get paid. Hedge makes it easy to automatically convert your pay into Bitcoin. Whether you're an employer or employee, you can get started in 4 easy steps. Start getting paid in Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Litecoin. The great part about using Hedge is you can skip the exchange experience altogether and have your Bitcoin sent directly to a wallet you control. Self-custody is key, and GetHedge is giving you the power. Hedge is here to make it easy to stack those sats month after month. Bitcoin, it's a long-term play, so what are you waiting for? Start living on the Hedge, and don't forget to let them know that you heard about Hedge from Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore. Use my referral link at mattjmoore.com, or you can go to gethedge.io. Again, that's gethedge.io.
Short-form video content is taking over social media, and with only seconds to capture someone's attention, our team can help you stand out from the crowd. At Sooner Marketing Solutions, we'll produce and publish engaging TikToks, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts. If you feel like you're falling to the wayside and missing out on the exposure that you deserve, click the link in the description to get Sooner results now.
Ding, 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 ding. It's round 3 of America's Bitcoin-focused radio show. That's right. Welcome back, America. And Whether you're a Bitcoin believer, Bitcoin lover, Bitcoin newbie, or Bitcoin expert, I don't care. We made this show for you. And we're also going to welcome all you haters and skeptics. Maybe you've been listening to this show and you're like, I don't know, Bitcoin's still going to destroy that world or the world of ours, global warming, blah, 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 blah. You know what? Hey, take your time, type out a carefully type out an insult email and send it to me. Go ahead and press send, and I'll take a look at it. Yes, I want you to be part of the conversation, even though I may not agree with you. Okay. All right, let's continue this. All right, this show, Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore, yes, it is one of the only syndicated radio shows dedicated to that topic known as Bitcoin. And on today's episode, we've been talking about why we as Americans should have the right to own and mine Bitcoin. And today we have someone who is actively advocating. He's a returning guest, but he's literally getting legislation passed. He's getting the governor to sign these bills in different states. Well, at least he had a recent win here, but he's making a lot of momentum, a lot of progress, and he's getting a lot of good attention. But he is an advocate that is trying to secure the right for individuals to mine Bitcoin, and even companies to mine Bitcoin. And on the soundboard, making sound sweet and crisp to that ear, is producer Brian LaRue. And if you really like the sound of this show, you like our awesome intros and outros, even the commercials, he's helped me with that. Hit him up at, I'll let him do the explaining. Brian, welcome back. Tell people where they can find your work.
Hey, Matt. Thank you so much. You can reach out to me at beyondyouproductions.com.
Beautiful. All right. Well, today on the line, we have Dennis Porter, and he is working so hard to secure that right to mine Bitcoin here in the United States. Dennis is the CEO of the Satoshi Action Fund. Dennis, welcome back to America's syndicated Bitcoin-focused radio show. And yes, because this is radio, people are jumping in their car all the time tuning in. Give us a quick rundown of the work that you have recently been doing so people can get caught up.
Yeah, thank you again, Matthew, for having me on. And again, congrats on all the success on the show, and happy to be back here. For me, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Satoshi Action Fund. That is a nonprofit focused on advocating for the benefits of Bitcoin mining, which we believe are the ability to enhance the economy, the grid, and also clean up the environment. So we've been having a lot of success with that. We've gone around the country educating folks, especially policymakers, on the benefits of the tech. And we also craft public policy. We have 4 pieces of model policy, which have been introduced 9 times in 7 states. And we have 5 active bills still today, with one of those bills having just passed in Arkansas, signed by the governor there. We're also looking to have the same thing happen in Montana, waiting for the governor's signature there, and possibly also Missouri as well. It's a little bit behind those 2 states, but having a ton of success and looking forward to continue having more success in the future, and looking forward to talking about it with you.
Excellent. Absolutely. Dennis, I want to know one thing. Can you share with us, obviously you've been doing a lot of advocating for Bitcoin mining. Can you share with us the number one challenge you see facing Bitcoin when it comes to the U.S. government or state governments?
Yeah, I mean, it's just broad discrimination against Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining. I think that especially at the federal level, you've seen Biden try to implement a 30% tax on Bitcoin mining, which would effectively kill the industry overnight. We have seen Senator Elizabeth Warren go on the attack against Bitcoin mining. She has been trying to push Bitcoin miners out of the country for some time now, been very aggressively postured against the space. And if we are not careful, people like Liz Warren and Biden, who love him or hate him on whatever part of the aisle you're on, they have been very opposed to Bitcoin mining. And if we don't do anything, they will get their way. So we have to be very careful and very vigilant, and make sure that we are pushing back against these sort of anti-Bitcoin mining policies. That's the biggest threat we have today, is the federal government. Fortunately, very fortunately, for the sake of Bitcoin, we have a divided Congress where it's going to be very difficult to get anything done that would be very punitive towards Bitcoin mining. So our goal has been to take advantage of those next 2 years that we have, or about a year and a half left that we have, before we have another new Congress, and try to pass as much pro-Bitcoin mining policy as possible at the state level, where we have, as mentioned earlier, been having a lot of success.
So is this going to become like a states versus the Fed type thing, or, kind of like how marijuana has been? Like, how do you see that unfolding?
Yeah, definitely. That's the example that I use very commonly. The marijuana industry, it's a federal crime to possess, distribute, to sell marijuana, to grow marijuana. It's also, there's no sort of federal banking either for marijuana. And we face very similar problems with Bitcoin, although not quite as severe. But what we want to do is follow the same exact strategy that the marijuana industry used. Despite it being a federal crime and having no banking, they've been able to go state by state and pass pro-marijuana legislation. They started with started with Colorado and Washington in 2012. And then since then, 75% of the country has put pro-THC, pro-marijuana legislation on the books. We want to do the exact same thing for Bitcoin mining. We're starting in Montana, we're starting in Arkansas, possibly Missouri. And over time, we want to be able to pass pro-Bitcoin legislation across the rest of the country.
Amen to that. Okay, so we got, I'd say roughly 3 minutes left before we got to close out the show. But I need to ask you this. People are listening to this and they're like, man, I really like Dennis's work and what he's doing. How can people get involved with what you're doing? Is there anything specific you're looking for right now? I mean, how can people make the biggest difference to help, give you that push?
That's a great question, and I appreciate you asking it. We have two ways where people can get involved right now. Obviously, one is, we're looking for folks to become monthly supporters of the work that we do. You can go to satoshiaction.io and you can, click on the fiat button if you want to become a monthly supporter for our work. And also, you can give in Bitcoin as well, but it's just more difficult to set up monthly subscriptions through Bitcoin. But that option is there for folks. And the other thing is, we're going to be going to DC in June 22nd, most likely, to hand out pro Bitcoin books. So the Bitcoin Standard and maybe a few other books as well. We're kind of in talks with the various authors, but we'll be there June 22nd at the Capitol. We're going to try to reserve a room and pass out as many Bitcoin books as we can to our staff there, of our legislators, and hopefully some members of Congress as well. So be on the lookout for that Eventbrite. It may be out here by Monday in a couple days. And once it comes out, people can sign up to be a volunteer to come help us pass out books and help educate those that are in positions of power to understand the value of Bitcoin.
That's super exciting and happy to hear that. Definitely. Question I got to ask everybody that comes on the show. We're a media partner with the Bitcoin 2023 down in Miami. Are you planning on making a trip down there at all?
I mean, I will definitely be in Miami, and I think that's a place where everybody goes, regardless of whether they go to the conference or not. Yeah, and they decide to have meetings and events. So I'll be down there. We're putting on a couple of events of our own. And, I'll definitely be meeting with a lot of different folks from the industry to make sure that they understand all the work that we're doing at Satoshi Action. Right. Well, cool. One more time, let people know how they can follow you and your work. I mean, give your Twitter handle too. Yeah, you can go to satoshiaction.io to follow us on our website. You can sign up for our newsletter right on our homepage. Very easy. All we ask is for your email. We don't ask for any other information. And you can also follow me on Twitter, Dennis. So it's at Dennis_Porter_. You can also follow Satoshi Action Fund with the handle at Satoshi Act Fund. Those are the two handles that we have right now. And yeah, thank you so much. And I appreciate you having me on the show to talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining. And I look forward to coming back again in the future, Matt. Absolutely. Brian, what were your thoughts here? Are you pretty impressed with the work that he's been able to accomplish?
Oh my gosh, I am very impressed. I think he's pioneering a lot, and I think for the future of Bitcoin mining and Bitcoin itself, I think he's really making an impact that will pay dividends years later. Yeah, well, and I can testify to it because I've actually tried passing Bitcoin legislation in Oklahoma, and man, I tell you what, this was back in 2019, and it was hard. But hats off to you, Dennis. And I do need to make known, if you're listening to this radio show and you like what you're hearing, you can tune into this show the same time every week. We're going to be here talking about Bitcoin. You can check us out on every major podcast platform. Give us a like, share, comment. You can send me an email if you go to mattjmoore.com. I've got lots of great content there. You can follow up on all of our old shows as well. But you know what? This show, sadly, is coming to a close. It's been fun. We've had a great conversation with Dennis, and next week we're going to have another phenomenal guest. But this show, Cryptocurrency with Matthew J. Moore, has been produced by Brian LaRue, who's sitting across the table, right? Good job, Brian. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Remember, Bitcoin is changing the world. I don't want you to get left behind. That's why I want you to tune in. That's why I want you to learn. Join us every week and learn how to prepare for this new digital age.